was a mess. And in fact, if you remember the first 2 or 3 months, there was a very dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and health care is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated it. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it.
Okay, here's the problem.
What we like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we will have to run it, and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare, because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better, will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families.
So America's been successful until Joe Biden, basically, in 1971.
They want to terminate 180 million.
47 years minus 2020, 40. 60.
Okay, Vice President Biden,
I don't know.
This is for you. Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option, become Biden-care. Public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal to be, if you qualify for Medicaid, and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically enroll, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices by making sure that there's
we're going to have a government competition for insurance companies. Why not make it easier for me to start an insurance company on the blockchain?
Thirdly, the idea
we have insurance on the blockchain, Biden. We don't need bureaucracy for healthcare. And we don't need cigarettes.
The nomination was, I support private insurance. That's why I did not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare. They did not lose their insurance unless they chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None. Zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan that we waited since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people because of this terrible handling of the COVID virus and economic spillover. 10 million people have lost their.
He's still talking about insurance. This was figured out in 1910.
And over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions, and all the people from COVID are going to have pre-existing conditions. What
We have insurance on the blockchain.
Follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government?
I say it's ridiculous. It's like saying that, the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think healthcare is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable healthcare. And I am very proud of my plan. It's gotten endorsed by all the major labor unions as well as a whole range of other people who in fact are concerned in the medical field. This is something that's going to save people's lives, and this is going to give some people an opportunity to have health care for their children. How many of you home are worried and rolling around in bed tonight wondering what in God's name you're going to do if you get sick? Because you've lost your home.
Please use a keyframe. Current keyframe frequency is 13 seconds. This app sucks.
President Trump,
He was there for 47 years. He didn't do it.
RTMP setting.
Vice president for 8 years, and it's not like it was 25 years ago. It was 3 3/4. It was just a little while ago, right? Less than 4 years ago. He didn't do anything. He didn't do it. He wants socialized medicine, and it's not that he wants it. His vice president, I mean, she is more liberal than Bernie Sanders and wants it even more.
Is that
Bernie
better?
Sanders wants it. The Democrats want it. You're going to have socialized medicine, just like you went with fracking. We're not going to have fracking. We're going to stop fracking. We're going to stop fracking. Then he goes to Pennsylvania after he gets a nomination, where he got very lucky to get it. And he goes to Pennsylvania, and he says, "Oh, we're going to have fracking." And you never ask that question. And by the way,
Current keyframe are not being sent often enough. Where is keyframe?
He goes for a year. There will be
we have a number of topics we're going to get to. We're going to get to
the same thing with socialized medicine.
Vice President, your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care. Period. Period, period, period. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care. Lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $700
OBS Studio.
over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have
Remind me later. Connect with YouTube.
Plans, lower your premiums, deal with
The Chi-Town Cubs. I'm doing streams now.
Drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing.
Yes, that's me.
Healthcare. Not a thing.
Houston, when he says
public
health, he's talking about socialized
Yes, that's
medicine.
me.
And when he and healthcare.
Okay, now I got this managed.
He's talking about destroying your Medicare, destroying your Social Security, and this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay, let's hear Vice President Biden respond.
It doesn't work.
He's a very confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people.
Moderators list.
With them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation where they're going to destroy Medicare, this is the guy.
How do I do moderators list?
If in fact, at Social Security,
moderators,
in fact, he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security.
Live chat.
Social Security will be
edit moderators and more. Okay, found it. Community settings. Paste.
This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare.
No.
So no, I mean, the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get rid of. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All right, let's move on.
This is the guy that when they announced.
Mr. President, I have to move on to the next question.
They said the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's move on to the next question very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming is his only measure of what's happening. Where I come from in Scranton, Claymont, the people don't live off of the stock market. Just in the last three years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more. $700 billion more, because that's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there?
What happens to that?
I don't care about
So
this.
what was happening on Capitol Hill?
I don't need tips.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna move on.
Stock are through the roof.
All
And
right.
he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short period of time before we even knew
We're
it.
going to move on to
And
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
were
move
sure
on to my next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but I still have
Okay,
to
here we go.
That's one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President,
You know, the Republican leader
Fuck.
in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why did he talk
I'll do
to
post-comedy,
Republican friends?
post-debate comedy.
We made a deal.
Because let me ask Vice President Biden a question. You are the leader of the Democratic Party. Why have you not pushed the Democrats to get a deal for the American people?
Oh, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this act all the way back in the beginning of the summer. This is like it's not new. It's been out there. This HEROES Act has been sitting there. And look at what's happening. When I was in charge of the Recovery Act with $800 billion, I was able to get $145 billion from local communities that have to balance their budgets, the states that have to balance the budgets, and then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running.
What the fuck is
He will not
this?
support that. They have not done a thing for them. And Mitch McConnell said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter
The
with
bill that was passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these kids. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them.
137.
This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do
.1.
with COVID, as to your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right, I want to.
If I get elected, I'm not going to, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president.
Slob
Red
settings.
states and blue states. What I see is American, United States. And folks, every single state out there finds themselves in trouble. They're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue. Cops,
Streamlabs,
firefighters, first responders,
OBS settings,
teachers,
API.
because they have to balance their budget, and the founders were smart. They allowed the
remote
federal
control.
government deficit spend to compensate for the United States of America.
I want to talk about the minimum wage, gentlemen. Mr. Vice
What the
President,
hell?
we are talking a lot about struggling small businesses
Yes.
and business owners these days. Do you think this is the right time to ask them to raise the minimum
There we
wage
go.
and, of course, support a $15 federal minimum wage?
I do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out too. We should be bailing them out now, those small businesses. You got 1 in 6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. Businesses as well as the schools need the help. But these guys will not help them. It's not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to immigration, but I want to get
we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping. I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
You said very
We have to
recently.
help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses. How are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said
Not
that recently
true,
you would
by the way.
consider raising the federal minimum
Say it.
wage to $15
Say
an
it.
hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to
What I
$15 an
really
hour. Is
like,
that still the case?
and I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really like,
administration?
what I would in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15.
Okay, President Trump, thank you. Quick
No
response,
one
Vice President
should work
Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level. And there is no evidence that when you raise the minimum wage, businesses go out of business. That is simply not true.
We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about immigration now, gentlemen, and we're going to talk about families within this context. Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed your zero-tolerance policy, but the United States can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through.
But how will you
But
reunite
let me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
let me
families?
just say,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages. And then they had a picture in a certain newspaper. And it was a picture of these horrible cages. And they said, look at these cages. President Trump built them. And then it was determined they were built in 2014. That was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids?
Yes,
with
we're
their
working
families?
on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents.